If you asked anyone, they'd say my wife and I had a great marriage. 8 years together, 2 cars, 1 dog, a cozy house in the suburbs, and a shared love for beach vacations and late-night Netflix. We looked good in photos. We smiled at dinner parties. We had the kind of marriage people posted about with hashtags like #goals. But behind the curated happiness, something had changed. It started with the small things. Emily used to leave her phone anywhere, on the counter, in the living room, even on the bathroom sink. Now, it never left her hand. She started sleeping with it under her pillow, face down. She'd laugh at texts and turn the screen away. She'd step outside for calls from work. Once, I asked her who she was texting so late. She smiled, brushed my cheek, and said, "Just Abby from the office. She's having boyfriend drama." I nodded, pretending to believe her, but the way she avoided eye contact told me everything I needed to know. Something wasn't right. At first, I thought it was me. Maybe I wasn't as attentive, maybe I'd become boring, predictable. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just distance, it was deceit. I didn't want to be that paranoid husband who goes through his wife's phone, but curiosity turned into obsession. Every night, when she'd fall asleep, I'd stare at her glowing screen under the pillow and imagine what was on it. One night, I finally gave in, but her phone had a new passcode. That's when the idea came. Not out of anger, but out of desperation. I wanted to know the truth, one way or another. So, I created a fake dating profile. I used a stock image of a man, dark hair, faint smile, neutral background, someone forgettable but trustworthy. I gave myself a new name, Alex Gray. I said I was a 38-year-old widower who believes in second chances. I made sure to sound honest, gentle, someone safe. It felt wrong, but I justified it. If she was faithful, I'd delete it and never tell a soul. But if she wasn't, well, I needed to know who I was really married to. I scrolled for hours, half hoping I wouldn't see her. But then I did. There she was. Emily, only, not Emily. The name on the profile was Lena, 33, widow. The photo stopped my heart. It was from our trip to Myrtle Beach 2 years ago. She'd cropped me out of the picture but kept the background, the same sunset, the same necklace I'd given her for our 5th anniversary. Her bio read, "Lost the love of my life too soon. Learning to smile again. Looking for someone kind who understands loss." I sat there in silence, rereading it over and over. She hadn't just made a profile. She'd killed me off. I matched with her. Not out of impulse, but out of a need to understand what kind of person could do something like that. She messaged first. "You look familiar. Have we met?" It felt like a punch in the chest. The same line she used on me when we met in a bookstore 8 years ago. I typed back. "Maybe in another life." She sent a laughing emoji. "Maybe. I just moved back here after everything." I asked what everything meant. She replied, "My husband passed away 2 years ago. Boating accident. It was sudden." I stared at the screen, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat. A boating accident. That was the story she used to explain my disappearance. I asked if she had kids. "No," she said. "It was just us. He was the love of my life." She told me about him. How he made her feel safe. How he died doing what he loved, fishing. The details were fabricated, but the emotional phrasing was perfect. It was almost impressive, the way she'd rewritten her entire life. For the next week, I kept talking to her, as Alex. She was charming, funny, empathetic. She told me she was ready to open up again. I played along, careful not to push too hard. One night, she said, "I don't usually do this, but I feel like I can talk to you." Then she sent a picture. A selfie, taken that evening, in our bedroom. My bedroom. That was the moment everything clicked into place. This wasn't a one-time thrill. She was comfortable lying like this. Practiced. Still, I needed to know if I was the only dead husband. So I created a second profile, new name, new picture. This time, I didn't use a widower backstory. I just said I was divorced, 35, looking for something real. It took 2 days before she matched with me again. Her profile picture was the same, but her bio was slightly different this time. Heartbroken but hopeful. Looking for someone honest. Honest. The word made me laugh out loud. I didn't message her right away. I just scrolled through her photos, some I'd never seen before. One was taken at a hotel pool I didn't recognize. Another, at a restaurant in another city. When I checked my texts, I realized she'd told me she was visiting her cousin those weekends. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smiling in those photos, pretending I didn't exist. In the morning, I deactivated both fake profiles. My heart was pounding. I told myself it was enough, I had my answer. But that's the problem with curiosity. Once you open the door, you can't stop peeking through. That same night, I made a third profile. This time, I didn't use fake photos, I used a real person's face. I found a middle-aged man from another state, someone harmless looking, and changed the background. I swiped until I found her again. And once again, she matched. I remember sitting there in the dark, watching her little green dot light up, typing to her as another man, wondering how many widows she'd been. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. I was curious, in that numb, dangerous way that comes right before the storm. Because the truth was becoming clearer with every swipe. Emily hadn't just lied to me. She'd been lying to everyone. And I was finally ready to find out just how far it went. After that night, something inside me shifted. Suspicion turned into strategy. I wasn't guessing anymore, I was investigating. And my wife, the woman sleeping 10 feet away, had no idea. She went about her days as usual, humming while she made coffee, scrolling on her phone, pretending to text friends. But I watched her differently now. Every smile looked rehearsed, every excuse perfectly timed. When she'd kiss me goodbye before heading to work, I wondered who she'd really be seeing that day. I decided to start small, harmless checks. I noted her supposed work meetings, her yoga classes, her girls' nights. They all lined up perfectly with her active hours on the dating app. She wasn't careful. Maybe she didn't think she had to be. After all, her husband was supposedly alive but clueless. That's the thing about people who lie, they assume they're smarter than you. From my second fake profile, I messaged her again, pretending to be a man named Tom, a high school teacher new in town. I kept it simple, friendly, respectful, believable. She responded within minutes. She wrote, "I'm not sure I'm ready for something serious, but it's nice to talk to someone genuine." I laughed at that. Genuine. I asked her about her past, the husband she said she lost. She told me the same story, boating accident, gone too soon, no children. She said she still wears her wedding ring sometimes because it feels wrong to take it off. The irony? That same ring was sitting on our dresser upstairs, next to her perfume bottle. When I asked if she had family nearby, she said her parents moved away after the funeral. In reality, her parents lived 15 minutes from us and we had dinner with them every other Sunday. The woman I was talking to wasn't Emily. It was some invented version of her, confident, mysterious, single. A woman free from accountability, free from her husband, free from me. And she was good at it. Too good. Over the next few days, she began to open up more, as Lena, the grieving widow. She told me she'd been on a few dates but no one special. She sent selfies, one she'd clearly just taken. One in our living room, another in the car, one from her office. Every message was like a needle to the chest. She wasn't just cheating physically, she was living a second life right under my nose. But I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not without proof that would crush any denial she might try. So I went deeper. I created another fake account, this time under a different dating app entirely. I used a completely new persona, a divorced dad, mid-40s, works in construction. Just to see how she'd respond to someone totally different. 3 days later, she matched. That made 4 different men she was talking to, that I knew of. 4 fake relationships, each with their own backstory, all woven around the same lie, I'm a widow. I started saving screenshots, every message, every photo, every timeline. She didn't just flirt, she built emotional connections. She told these men that her late husband would have wanted her to move on. She thanked them for making her believe in love again. It was all rehearsed, like lines in a play she'd memorized years ago. One night, I went further than I ever had. I contacted one of the men directly, from my real phone, under a fake number. His name was Greg. He was from another city but often came here for work. I told him, "Hey man, I think we're seeing the same woman." At first, he didn't believe me. Said his girlfriend was a widow named Lena. Said she'd lost her husband years ago and still wore his necklace. My blood went cold. That necklace was the silver one I gave her for our anniversary. I sent him a photo, one of Emily and me from Facebook. He went silent for a while. Then he called. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "That's her. That's her." He told me they'd been seeing each other for almost 2 years. They'd taken trips together, weekends, sometimes whole weeks when I thought she was on business travel. He said she never stayed overnight but always left early, claiming she didn't want to rush things. He sounded heartbroken. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. When I hung up, I realized what that meant. She'd been cheating our entire marriage. Every girls' trip, every late-night work call, every moment of unexplained distance, all of it was her playing a part in this sick double life. For years, she had pretended to be a grieving widow to strangers while lying beside me at night, living as a wife. It wasn't just betrayal, it was delusion. The next morning, she acted normal again. She kissed me before leaving for a meeting downtown, smiling like nothing was wrong. I smiled back, playing along. As soon as she left, I tracked her location using the shared Find My Phone feature we'd set up years ago. Her dot appeared downtown, not at her office, but near a cafe I didn't recognize. Then it moved to a hotel. I didn't follow her that day. Not yet. I just sat in the kitchen, staring at the blinking dot on my phone screen, watching it stay still for 3 hours before finally moving again. When she came home that evening, she smelled like a different cologne. I asked how her meeting went. She said, "Long. You know how work is." And she smiled. That same effortless, beautiful, poisonous smile. I smiled back and told her dinner was in the oven. Inside, I'd already decided what I'd do next. If she wanted to live in lies, I was going to hand her the mirror. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm, scarily calm. Because I knew that the next time we met online, I wasn't going to be just another stranger. I was going to be the man who finally ended her game. I spent the next few days planning what would come next. I wanted her to trap herself completely, no excuses, no explanations, no way out. I kept texting her from my fake profile, the widower one she seemed most attached to. She told me she was finally ready to meet Alex in person. She even said, "It feels right. I haven't felt this connected to anyone in years." The irony almost made me laugh. She had no idea she was planning a date with her own husband. I agreed to meet her, pretending to be nervous but excited. We picked a restaurant halfway across town, quiet, classy, the kind of place she liked for special occasions. I knew it well. We'd celebrated our 5th anniversary there. The day of the date, she spent hours getting ready. She told me she was going to meet Abby for dinner. I watched her curl her hair, put on lipstick, and spray perfume on her neck, the same scent I used to love. She kissed me on the cheek before leaving. "Don't wait up," she said, smiling. "I won't," I replied. As soon as her car disappeared down the street, I got dressed, suit, tie, the works. I drove separately, parked a block away from the restaurant, and waited. At 7 p.m. sharp, she walked in. God, she looked radiant. Confident. Alive. The woman sitting there wasn't a wife sneaking around, she was the version of herself she'd always wanted to be. She took a seat by the window, looking around expectantly. I waited a few minutes before walking in. When her eyes met mine, I saw her face crumble. She froze mid-breath. The color drained from her cheeks. "Mind if I join you?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She opened her mouth but nothing came out. "Funny," I continued. "You told me you were meeting your friend Abby. But it looks like you're meeting a widower instead." Her eyes darted around, scanning for exits. I can explain," she stammered. "Sure," I said, sitting down across from her. "Start from the part where your husband died." Tears welled up instantly. "It wasn't like that," she whispered. "Then what was it like?" I asked. "Because I've seen your profiles, Emily. Or should I say Lena? Or Sarah? Or whoever the hell you are this week." She started crying, quietly, carefully, the kind of tears that begged for sympathy. But I'd seen that performance before. I leaned forward. "How long?" She looked down at her napkin, twisting it in her hands. "I don't know," she murmured. "Years, I guess. It started as a joke. I never thought anyone would respond." "So you decided to pretend your husband was dead." "I wasn't pretending to hurt you," she said quickly. "It just became something else. It was exciting. It felt good to be wanted again." I laughed, not loudly, but with that hollow kind of disbelief that burns. "Wanted again? You were wanted, Emily. You just stopped caring who it came from." She wiped her eyes. "You don't understand. I felt invisible at home. With them, I could be anyone. I didn't have to be your wife, or the perfect friend, or the woman who keeps it together all the time." Her voice cracked. "I could just be me." I shook my head. "You weren't being you. You were being widowed you. The kind everyone pitied and adored because she lost the perfect husband who, surprise, wasn't actually dead." Her shoulders trembled. "I didn't think you'd ever find out." "That's the problem," I said quietly. "You never think past the lie." For a moment, we sat in silence. Just two strangers who'd once shared a home, now sitting across from each other in the wreckage of their own making. She finally looked up. "What are you going to do?" I stood up. "What do you think?" As I turned to leave, she reached out, grabbing my wrist. "Please. Don't tell anyone. Don't ruin everything." I looked down at her hand, manicured, shaking, and then at her face. "You already ruined it, Emily. I'm just the one who finally looked." When I left the restaurant, she didn't follow. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the steering wheel, feeling nothing and everything all at once. I didn't go home that night. I checked into a cheap motel and opened my laptop. The screenshots, the messages, the photos, I compiled them into one folder and labeled it simply, proof. Then I sent her a text. Don't come home. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. She replied 5 minutes later. Can we please talk? I never meant for this to go that far. I didn't respond. The next morning, I went home anyway. Her car wasn't there. Her closet was half empty. On the bed, she'd left a note. I'm sorry. I need time to think. I'll stay at my sister's. I folded the note neatly, put it in the trash, and started packing her things into boxes. That afternoon, I met with a lawyer. I showed him everything. He didn't even look surprised. You've got more than enough, he said. She won't contest it. By evening, she was texting again, begging me to reconsider, saying it didn't mean anything, that she just needed attention. I stared at her messages, at the words, I love you, repeated over and over, and realized something brutal. She probably meant it, in her own twisted way. Because to people like her, love isn't about honesty or loyalty. It's about how much attention they can hold before they get bored again. I didn't reply. I just sent her one message back. You said you were a widow. Now you are. Then I blocked her. That night, I sat in the quiet house, the house that used to echo with laughter, music, normalcy, and felt the emptiness settle in. But underneath the sadness was relief. Cold, cleansing relief. Because the truth had been there all along, hidden in plain sight, behind smiles and soft lies. And now that it was finally exposed, I could breathe again. The next few weeks were the quietest of my life. No shouting, no drama, just silence. Silence in the kitchen where she used to hum while making coffee. Silence in the hallway where her heels once clicked. Silence in the bed that still smelled faintly of her perfume. It was strange, I'd spent months suspecting her, weeks collecting proof, and yet when she was finally gone, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like someone had died. And maybe, in a way, someone had. Her name wasn't on the mailbox anymore. Her toothbrush wasn't next to mine. Her contacts were gone from the fridge. Even the dog stopped sleeping in our room, as if he could sense the absence better than I could. The lawyer moved quickly. She didn't contest anything. Not the house, not the car, not even the accounts. I think she was too ashamed, or maybe too tired, to fight. When I signed the divorce papers, it felt less like ending a marriage and more like burying a ghost. I saw her one last time in person, outside the courthouse, 2 weeks after I filed. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of all her lies had finally caught up with her. Her hair was tied back, no makeup, wearing the same blue coat she'd worn on our first date. She tried to smile. You look good, she said softly. So do you, I lied. We stood there for a moment, not as husband and wife, but as two people who had completely destroyed each other in different ways. She finally spoke. I wanted to tell you the truth so many times. I just didn't know how. I nodded. You had 8 years to figure it out. I never meant to hurt you, she said. I almost laughed. You told strangers I was dead, Emily. You didn't just hurt me, you erased me. She looked down, biting her lip. It wasn't about you. And maybe that was the worst part, realizing she was right. It wasn't about me at all. It was about her need to feel alive, to feel seen, to feel something. I just happened to be collateral damage in her search for validation. I turned to leave, but she called after me. Do you hate me? I paused. No, I said. But I don't recognize you anymore. And I think that's worse. That was the last time I saw her. The months after the divorce were oddly peaceful. I deleted every fake account, every screenshot, every trace of that twisted game I'd built to catch her. I stopped checking her social media, stopped asking mutual friends about her, stopped wondering what she was doing. But curiosity has a way of clawing back in. One night, maybe 6 months later, I was scrolling through a dating app, for real this time. I wasn't looking for love, not yet. I just wanted to see what it felt like to exist in that world again. To swipe without suspicion. Half an hour in, I froze. There she was. Same face. Different name again. This time she called herself Clara, 34, widow. Her bio read, sometimes life gives us second chances. Looking for someone kind, who knows how to listen. The same words. The same recycled grief. It hit me that she hadn't changed at all. Divorce, exposure, humiliation, none of it had fixed whatever emptiness lived inside her. She was addicted to sympathy. Addicted to playing the victim in her own story. I didn't report her. I didn't message her. I just stared at her picture for a while, the soft smile, the familiar necklace, the same background from our old porch, and realized she'd taken the photo after the divorce. Then I closed the app. I didn't need to know what she'd tell the next man. I'd already lived it. In the months that followed, I started over in quiet ways. I moved to a smaller apartment closer to the city. Sold the house. Donated most of our furniture. Bought a new coffee mug, a different brand of cologne, even changed my haircut, small things that made me feel like someone new. People always ask what betrayal feels like. They expect anger, hatred, rage. But the truth? It's exhaustion. It's walking into an empty house and realizing that the person you built a life with was living a completely different one right next to you. It's grief without a grave. Sometimes, when I wake up early and the sunlight hits just right, I still expect to hear her humming in the kitchen. And for a split second, I forget everything, the lies, the fake profiles, the strangers she told I was dead. For that split second, I remember what it was like to love her before I knew who she really was. Then reality sets back in. And I'm grateful it's over. Because knowing the truth, no matter how painful, is better than living a beautiful lie. A few months later, I received an envelope in the mail with no return address. Inside was a photo, the one she'd used on her dating profile, and a note written in her handwriting. I'm sorry. I really did love you once. I burned the note in the sink without reading it again. Because maybe she did love me, once. Maybe she loved every man she pretended to meet online. Maybe she even believed her own stories, the grief, the loss, the lonely widow routine. But love without honesty isn't love. It's manipulation wearing a smile. That night, I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, and finally let the quiet settle. No more pretending. No more testing. No more chasing the ghost of a marriage that never really existed. And for the first time in years, I felt free, not because I caught her, but because I finally stopped trying to understand her. She lived her lie. I lived the truth. And in the end, that was enough.